think life skills I would like to define as it's a term used to describe a set of some basic skills which are acquired through learning, or acquired through direct life experiences that will help individuals, children, adults, groups to effectively handle issues and any kinds of problems that they encounter in daily life. So those are what are life skills. So they will include things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, also the ability to communicate and collaborate, along with any of the personal and social responsibility that each one of us need to take for those. And that will, of course, then lead to good citizenship. And these are essential skills for most of us who will be able to take ownership, responsibility, and also be able to regulate our own emotions, and thus help us in being happier individuals and enjoying daily life activities. Okay. So we're all born with our intelligence. We cannot build up our intelligence. We can learn a lot of skills around with our intelligence. Uh, Academics is only a part of our life. The rest is most important, how we deal with situations in life. I'm not going to have parents all the time shielding me. So my child needs to have these skills, build up problem solving, decision making, resilience, being agile, ability to bounce back, and to accept failure, and to accept that he or she can make mistakes. We need to teach them this, and this can only happen if you and me as adults are able to accept it. There's never going to be a perfect child, a perfect parent. We will all make mistakes, and let our children also make mistakes. Don't make such a big hue and cry when the child makes a mistake, or the child comes up with a dating partner. Oh my God, I've had parents who've created the scare out of the child if that child has had a dating partner. I think we need to be open to certain situations, and these are part and parcel of life, where children learn to form relationships, learn to form opposite sex relationships, or learn to be a little secretive. It's normal. If you have healthy communication open with your children, I don't see at any point that you're going to feel that the child is hiding things from you, because you know what the child is doing, right? So those are the important areas. And let's not just focus on he's more intelligent or she's more intelligent. We're all good in many ways. We just have to learn to build up some of our skills, polish those skills, and use them, transfer those skills in daily life. Okay, so life skills go hand in hand with the growth and development, and can help children in being able to succeed later on in life, whether academically, whether in their careers or in their personal life or relationships, So it's important to teach children these life skills, as it'll help children to focus and have some amount of self-control. It also helps children in their abilities to communicate, to comprehend, and make certain choices, make certain connections, certain social connections for themselves. It, of course, works on the critical thinking area also. It helps children to take on challenges. As parents, we try to, shield them from any kind of a difficult situation, rather than giving them the idea that think for themselves to be able to, deal with an adverse situation. So it will help children to take on challenges. It's also self-directed, and it helps children in learning process. That's important. I've been in this profession over 3 decades now. And in the earlier times, we never had, those kind of cognitively stimulating toys or stuff that is there now currently for our younger children. So I would always say, just pick up a magazine. There's a picture. Don't go to the actual stuff that advertisement is talking about. Talk about the picture. Let the child think what is there in that picture. Talk. Use communication, use vocabulary, build up a story. You can just build up a story of 4 lines, of 2 lines, of 10 lines, of 20 lines from a small picture without the actual picture which is relating to a story or something, and you can just do that. The other thing that I always do with our children is that if they're having a conflict, so I would always have some dolls around or some puppets, and we'll create a family over there and put in a situation which is similar to the situation that the child is facing, and let the child answer those. Let the child get involved in what could be this little baby thinking, especially when there's sibling rivalry, you know, and this small little puppet has just reached this home, and what is it doing to the older child in the house, and we allow this child to talk about it. So the storytelling is actually helping the child to build up certain thoughts and accepting real life situations through stories. It works best. It's beautifully worked, you know. It gets intertwined very easily into the real life situations. It may be sounding imaginary, but they're all very helpful. Like we use drawings for that, we use coloring for that, we use stories for that, you know. Stories has always been the best way.
And the way you said it, that the child themselves decide what they're saying, it's like they've become the solution provider themselves.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
are not giving them something, you're not dictating
Yeah.
them something. They are coming up with their own ways of dealing with it.
Yeah.
So stories are helping you deal with emotions as well.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why we want our children to be happy, confident,
Yes.
and being able to deal with anything.
Yeah. And also I think our younger parents also need to see that let the child fail. When I'm saying fail doesn't mean that academically only. Academics is only 10-15% of our life. गलती हुई है, गलती कर लेने दो, उसको हर समय शील्ड मत करो. Don't save the child from a mistake. Let the child own up that he or she has done a mistake. Let the child see that I have not stood first, second, or not a position holder. What does it do to the child? Think of the emotion. Let the child come out with it. Think about it. You know, introspect, reflect. It is going to be very helpful for the child to understand most of his or her areas. I think you would agree with me when I say that we live in a very complex world. And currently, we're in the most uncertain times, and we'd never thought that something like this is going to happen. And this is also equally important time for us as parents or the younger parents to think that how to help children take on the challenge of the adversities that they're facing. We've had no school. We've had online schools. We'd never thought that our children would be doing online schools. We never thought that children will not go out to play, and the challenges that the children are facing. So it's important to create that critical thinking in them, so that they're able to analyze information and make decisions for themselves from the kind of myriad things that are there every day in life, and one of the best ways to develop critical thinking in young children is through very open ended play or rich open ended play. Make sure that your child plays daily, and can play alone also. It's not necessary to play only with friends. So the child also has to engage in just being with themselves and not needing that all the time that somebody else is around them, and only then they will play. So the play would include something like taking on roles, pretending. That pretend play is a very good area to develop critical thinking, building those structures, building Legos, playing board games, another area which is very, very important for children to develop their critical thinking. Of course, playing the physical sporty games, or just running and learning how to do some activities outside on the playground, or even hide and seek. That's a very good skill that children learn. So this also helps children take risks, and also to understand how to accept failures in life. That it's not essential to always win, and how to accept that if you don't win a game, and we learn that we make mistakes, and we will build up our own ideas, and we'll find solutions. And these are all essential items in the building up of critical thinking. So a child who loves learning becomes an adult who's rarely bored in life. That's one statement that I always like to use with my clients. We loves to learn, loves to, so always encourage a child to learn newer skills, try to limit the screen time as far as possible, do some boundaries setting for children, and encourage plenty of reading, play, all kinds of play, and open-ended exploratory behavior, just play with sand, play with atta, play with suji, play with dals, it's very good for their fine motor skills, and also for their skills to develop. The more the curiosity, the more the enthusiasm, the better the learning takes place in the child's life. That's important. So we must have all these kinds of supplies at home, so that we don't need to buy games from outside. I mean, I'm not against buying, but it's not essential to. You can always do things, so when I'm driving the car and I'm seeing one of those children who are playing on the on the streets, they're playing with mitti, they're playing with soil over there. And I saw this kid, somebody threw a water bottle, and he was just trying to fill up the mitti into the bottle, and he was just trying to enjoy the mitti. I mean, that's how they learn. So we need to allow children to create some mess to be able to learn. So a lot of parents do not allow children to take certain decisions, and simple decisions like kaun sa kapda pehenna hai aaj. So they have a fight over that. So I always tell parents, segregate party wear from daily wear, and leave the daily wear in certain area, and let the child choose what he or she wants to wear, like you and me choose. We choose those. So let the child take some decisions for themselves. These are simple acts that will also help in making some connections. It'll help them understand more abstract kind of connections in their lives, and also build up stories in their lives. So that's another important area. See, I'd like to begin by saying, terms like self-esteem, self-worth are often used very interchangeably. And a lot of us just throw these words, without understanding what their actual meaning is. Their meanings are quite different, actually, but we use them interchangeably. And some people focus on building their self-esteem, while others prefer to strengthen their sense of self-worth. And in actuality, what this means is that it's essential in remaining grounded and healthy, and that's most important. So what really is self-esteem? If I was to answer that question, it's a manner in which you evaluate yourself. It's an internal assessment of our qualities, of our attributes, how healthy our self-esteem is, what we think about ourselves, what we feel about ourselves, what we believe about ourselves, in the most honest and realistic view. That's what is self-esteem. And building and maintaining that healthy self-esteem depends on gathering evidence about what we are like a person, what our life experiences have been from childhood, and how we've developed that sense of self-esteem in us. Whereas what is this self-worth? Self-worth is the belief that you are lovable, you're valuable, regardless of how you evaluate your traits, that you really are good to yourself, in a way. If you were to say that your self-esteem could hit rock bottom sometimes, you could still hold on to your notion that you have intense, innate worth, that you have that self-worth in you. That's very important. So that's a basic difference. So while we play with our children, while we talk to our children, while we do storytelling, it's all of this starts developing in children, and also by some role play. I remember in the earlier times, we used to have those Panchatantra comics, and I grew up in schools where we had moral science, So we read those stories, and it was for us to understand what was happening in those stories. Those were real life or animal kingdom life, and we learned a lot from those stories, things about agility, things about resilience, things about how to care for yourself, how to, and we're actually these days never taught how to take care of ourselves apart from exercise, play, eat, sleep. There's much more than that. So these are the things that we need to incorporate while we are teaching children in about self-esteem and self-worth.